So I want to talk about something that's been bothering me for a little while. There's something that the roofing industry lacks some of, or maybe we just got away from it. Maybe I just see it in my own perspective, right? But I think it's the whole reality of being real and doing what you say and saying what you do, right? There's so much fabricated bullshit in our industry because of, social media, the fake it till you make it. We're buying shiny cars before we can actually afford them. We're creating liabilities instead of building assets. I feel like there's so much in this space that it almost sets up the future guys that are looking to do this for failure a little bit, because there's so much false bullshit within what we do, right? Like, I was thinking about it. I did a little podcast with Mike Stearns from Ascend, and it was really cool, but we were talking about like, what's one thing you would pass on to the up and comers, right? And the only thing I can ever think of is keeping your financials right, which means having a bookkeeper, having your invoices right, paying your taxes so that you can be a tax-paying citizen and you can leverage yourself, paying your guys, paying your people, and just being real, right? Like, how many times do you see or hear of, and maybe you've worked for some of these business owners who, they have all the shiny stuff, they have all the, they're driving their Teslas or they're doing their videos, or they have all these cars, yet they can't retain any employees, yet they don't pay their bills, yet they're behind in child support, they're behind in, their suppliers are chasing them, right? And they're fabricating online to you, they're fabricating online to the world, and they're lying to you in person about this is how it's supposed to be and look at me. But that's not success. That is not successful. Success to me, and I guess it differs to everybody, but when it comes to like work, to me, is just being regarded as a good leader where people want to be with you, they want to work with you. You recruit on your own, right? Like, we don't have to post ads to get people to come to our doors to ask if we're hiring, right? They know of us, they hear of us, not just the work that we do, but through the industry. Every sub knows each sub, everybody on the crew knows everybody on the crew. The suppliers, regardless of it's ABC, Golf Eagle, whoever else you're buying from, right? They know each other, everybody talks, it's one industry, and we all get together. And you see it all the time online now, where people are calling out other people, which I think is good, right? Like, I think there has to be some accountability for doing dirt, right? There has to be some accountability and someone willing to stand up and say, you know what, this guy's doing this, somebody has to pay for that. But in the beginning, like, what it all boils down to, if you get to the root of the problem, it's just lack of reality, lack of how life really works, lack of how gathering assets really works, right? Like, man, I guess we can go so deep into that where we'll have to save that for a different time, because that's what I really like to get into, is like assets and asset collection and actual residual income. Here's a funny story. I think it was like 2016, 2017. I had a big condo building under contract, and my plan was, when I go hunting in Kansas, I was gonna have my crew do these condos, right? So that way I can make money while I'm hunting, right? So it's kind of like, oh, that's a residual thing, right? I'm gonna make money while I'm gone. And that happened, right? It was a cool thing. I went hunting, I came back, the condos were complete, exceptional money, what money that people don't make in an entire year. And I was like, man, that's residual income. That's really what it feels like. But that's not residual income, right? What if something happened to the foreman? What if something happened to the material? What if there's a distribution problem? What if it rained the entire time I was gone? I wouldn't have made a dime. And I didn't make money while I sleep, because while I was sleeping, my workers were sleeping. We were actually losing money because we were carrying overhead costs, right? Like, that's not residual income. About a month ago, and I'll find this letter and share it with you, I got a letter from one of the Whole Foods deal that I invested in a while ago. And it was just a thing congratulating and thanking all the investors that we're doing so good. Well, we're doing really good this far. Here's a breakdown of where you're at. And in the envelope was a check for $9,500, right? Like, that was residual income. I didn't do anything for that, right? All I did was invest money, and over time we get paid dividends, right? Money comes back. So that $9,500 was so much more fun than the money off condos, right? And also, like, when you're evolving your mind into what's actually residual income and what's actually income-based asset. I don't want to get too far down that road, but I just wanted to share that story, because I really think we need to help hold each other accountable. I really think, instead of bashing people, we need to reach out and see if somebody needs help or if they need guidance. I really think that we need to work together as an industry instead of against each other, trying to hold on to our trade secrets, or trying to be better than one another, or cut each other's price, or steal each other's guys. there's so much more to doing that. You know, like in my area, there's maybe 5 really good companies that I would feel comfortable referring, right? If the 5 of us dominated the market, and I'm not saying just the market in this little area, I'm saying dominated the market, and we all got a crack at every single job, we'd have more money than we would ever, I mean, we have more money in quotes and more money in revenue than we could ever do. There's a lot of guys in my area, and I would say like the, 40, 50 mile radius that I have lunch with, that I talk to, that I give advice to, that stop in my shop to talk to me. Tons of different business owners, and I do the same thing. I'll call them with an issue. I have different mentors in the same space as well. So us helping each other and being honest with each other and bringing up guys, like we're not worried about each other stealing our guys. We're not worried about each other stealing our systems or our, what does your sumo quote look like or any of that. It's like, hey, how can I help you? Hey, how can I help you? Like, hey, I got this job out here. I don't have any time to go look at it. You take this one. We're working together in the same market without causing any friction. And then you have the assholes that are like, well, I don't know, I'm not talking to him, I'm too good for that, way over this, I don't know who he thinks he is, trying to deal with whatever, he's stealing people. I mean, there's just so much of the ego, and I feel like if we could just all come to reality and reach out to each other, help each other, and push each other up, and force the guys that aren't good to their people to just, force them out. I would rather not force them out. I'd rather just like force them to change and maybe like inspire them to like treat people better, right? There's so many, and it's not roofing, but there's so many business owners everywhere that they drive all the fancy shit and show off in front of their people and treat their people like shit, and their retention rate sucks. To me, that's not a boss at all. That's just, I mean, it's a coward. It's somebody that's unwilling to evolve to the next level. The greatest level of evolution is contribution. So that's just what I had on my mind.